Hey everybody, so I've got some updates. The boards for this are in San Diego and they've cleared customs. They're actually in the US Postal Service system now, so I'll have them soon, probably next week. That's good. I also got a E4411A spectrum analyzer on eBay for cheap. And when I say cheap, I mean $500 cheap, because it has two bad buttons, but works. So yeah, I'm not sure if somebody oopsed, but they put it up, buy it now, and I think it was just a stroke of luck, because I think the listing was all of about 3 minutes old when I saw it, and I said, oh, I'll take it. It's one of those things that when it hits the instant, if somebody noticed it and it wasn't me, somebody's going to do the same thing. They're just going to buy it, because that's typically the price on eBay for those for like an E4411 averages about $2,000. So getting them for like $500 because it has two broken buttons but works otherwise, well, buy it now. Couldn't resist. Yeah, so I'll have that probably soon, unless the seller contacts me and says, oh God, I really didn't expect it to go for that low, and then you end up with those kinds of issues. It's happened to me before, where they sort of beg to get out of it. So anyways, and the two buttons, all I gotta do is just wait for somebody to put a faceplate up. There's actually a couple on eBay now with the, with all the buttons, but you just wait for them to drop the price. Second question I got, well, I got a couple questions, but I made a list, but I ain't gonna go through all of them because it's actually a fair bit. The mostly to do with the glue and stuff like that, the conductive glue that I talk about. Another question about, which is mostly revolved around this prototype thing. Question about that. Will it work in a Cobra 2000? Well, it works in 148. It'll work in Cobra 2000. Yes. The answer to that is yes. Will it work in a Ranger 2950? Why? Why? Or Saturn Turbo? Why? Okay. Those I gotta ask why. But I'm gonna say no, because I didn't intend for them to go in those radios. I don't know a whole lot about how those things are, how those radios are done. I suspect the synthesizer's in that front plate with all of the with the microcontroller and all that display enough stuff anyway. So maybe, but why? Anyway, what does blankety blank 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 think about this? About yours? Well, I can tell you that I have been contacted by two individuals that have something like this that they put in radios, and they were not exactly pleased. One of them threatened me, and the other one was like, mine is better. Okay, that's fine. That's nice. There's a third one that I'm aware of, and made by an Aussie guy, and it's neat. His is neat and clean, and doesn't look like something that was made by, it doesn't look rather just blah like some of the other ones that look like they just look like, yeah. Anyway, so I hope that answers that question. It's a controversial thing, so I don't like controversy. That said, the next ones, can I add Bluetooth to this? Yeah, I thought about that. Like Bluetooth audio, like you could talk and you could. Yeah, that probably could, but I don't know. I'm thinking Bluetooth headset. Like with Vox or something. I suppose I could, but I don't know how well that would work. I mean, I've got some Bluetooth dev stuff around. I'll give it a go. Then the other typical feature requests, like can I add some stuff on here to measure SWR and things like that? Yeah, I think I'll give that stuff a go. SWR is reasonable. One that I got that I don't really like is can I put some noise toys in it? frickin' no. I can't stand a lot of those toys. I got one around here somewhere that's got a laugh. I think that's kind of funny. And that's probably about the most that I would go with a noise toy. But like the frickin' vulgar women orgasms crap of the F-bombs, no frickin' way. Sorry. And RF power control. I got asked about that again. Yeah, I like that idea because, you know, I've got the guinea pig radio has an RF control on the back. Now that's not terrible. The problem with this radio is you crank the power up all the way, and it just saturates the hell out of it. And so I would do the power control, but I would do it in a way that it's going to limit the max output in such a way that you know, you're not going to saturate the radio. Because if you put a I could probably show it on the spectrum analyzer when I get it, but it'll get nasty. You'll get some stuff out of it that you don't want. So it's just better to not have like stupendous output power out of these radios. People are just trying to drive the crap out of them, and that they sound bad. They're spectrally impure. It's nasty. But anyway, conductive glue and the 2SC2999 are the last ones, and I've had a question about that directed at me about, you know, is using a cyanide meter a good way to quantify whether or not that works? Well, that's a good question. It's the only actual way I have to measure here, you know, to measure the receiver's performance is with a cyanide meter. And what I can tell you is using that method, which, it's typically used for FM. That's used for FM. It can't be used for AM, but sure, you could use it for AM. There's absolutely no reason you can't use it for AM. The cyanide is measuring, you know, signal and noise after distortion. So that's what cyanide means. So how much signal do you have in there versus all the other crap? So I think it's a good measurement, and I'll stand by that. I've had lots of people email me and say, well, that was sort of an innovative way to measure that. Thank you for showing me, or showing that it's basically BS that you can get 5 dB out of that, because you can get 5 dB out of that thing, and people still sell that as a parts kit to go and get 5 dB out of your receiver. 5 dB is a frickin' humongous number. It's just, yeah. Anyway, conductive glue. Well, I went to which I didn't go far because I have them laying around. I've got the Superstar 3900. That's also one of those tech special radios, and it's got that glue in various spots, and it's this shit's conductive. So there's no shenanigans here. I've been accused of shenanigans over the cyanide thing because I didn't have the meter on the camera, but I'll fix that. I'll set it up so that it can be seen, and I'll do it again at some point. Here's the leads. No cuts, no resistors in line, none of that kind of stuff. See? Anyway. We're going to measure the conductive glue. There's the spot. There's the meter probes into it. 12 megohms. Doesn't seem like a lot. 9 megohms, 10 megohms. Doesn't sound like a lot. It is. It's pretty high resistance, but it gets worse over time. You know, some of it really just depends. I come over here and I already see a component lead being corroded over here. I mean, that's the reality of it. Well, that's 4 megohms, 5 megohms. You know, it's the crap. If you don't believe me, then fine. It's your radio. You can do what you like. But if you know you have that glue in there, and you cannot get it out yourself, because remember, that's the key. If you cannot get it out yourself, so it actually involves a lot of times removing components, you know, to get that stuff off. You can usually use some solvents and just sort of get it out as well. If you can't get it out, and this radio needs new caps. We got some of our wonderful Sun King brand capacitors in here. You know, we like that. You know, it needs caps. They're old. You could tell how old a lot of times if they're old by, you know, whether or not they have the vents in the front or in the top versus the bottom or whatever. These probably have vents in the bottom. These are 1000 to 25, both of these big suckers in here, and they glue these down because in shipping or in vibration or what have you, these things will vibrate and they'll shear the legs right off of them. You'll open up one of these radios with something rattling around inside. You'll open up and be one of these big filter caps that's just rolling around in here because the legs just sheared right off. I've seen that in lots of consumer electronics over the years. They had an incident with I want to say it was LG, where they didn't glue they didn't silicone a capacitor down on the power supply. It was like a plasma set, and the big old filter cap rolling around on the inside of the set, and the power supply had startup problems because of it, or just made loud noises, you know, wah, you know, humming noises that coming out of the panel and stuff like that. It was a damn cap because it's rolling around in the set. But anyways, so seeing is believing. I'll show you again over here, get some more of it. Maybe that one's not conductive, or I'm just simply too far away and that meter can't measure it, because that's another thing. Obviously if the probes touch together, you know, it's going to be that, but I'm trying to get them close enough together to measure it. That's a hard spot to measure it. How about back here, some on this cap? That's pretty high. You know, it just depends on where it is and how much of it's there and how corroded it's gotten. Like that's a pretty low one there. So yeah, it's your radio. You can get it removed. You don't have to get it removed. Do what you like. That said, maybe the next time I've got something going on. I do have a couple of things that I have. Well, it's spring cleaning time. You know, it's getting warm. Warm being 80s and 90 degrees here in the southeast. It's too hot for me. I can't take the heat. Every year I sort of just I really have a hard time handling it. I'm, you know, from northern latitudes. So anyways, I've got still laying around here someplace a Yaesu FT107 that I had from probably a year or two ago that I found on the side of the road around this time of year. Got to dig that thing out. It's got the displays out, and I think it's that Yaesu used a display in there, an IC, a driver that's sort of unobtainium, and I was gonna you know, write some code for an AVR and stuff it in there and see how see if I could you know, replicate the functionality of that and restore the radio to operation, because the radio does work, but it's been modified for CB. That, you know, yanked some crystals out. That was a crystal control radio, or had crystals, you know, for the various bands. The other thing that I picked up just the other day is a Bearcat 210 scanner, again on the rubbish pile on the side of the road. So I'll throw those things up here, scanner first probably, and you know, go over it and see what's going on with that. Maybe I'll do it later. I don't know. I got to clean this mess up, because in here, this side of the room is a freaking mess. The other side's, you know, pristine, and I'm not entirely sure if this side's a mess because I've been shifting stuff around. I tend to not mix the stuff up between the benches a lot, because this stuff has this is you know, one set of stuff, that's one set of stuff, and I tend to leave this, you know, for the hobby projects, which is what I do over here. But anyway, that's pretty much it. So maybe next video will be a scanner, maybe next video will be a stuff board in the 148 on a spectrum analyzer. but depends on how quickly I get that spectrum analyzer. Anyway, guys, till next time, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.